All right, well, we just got the buggy back from Powder Coat, and it looks incredible. I'm super happy with the way this thing came out. A couple of days of assembly, and it'll be our favorite time of the year, dyno time.
Popping on the west side, cause that's where I stay. I just made 1,000, blew it in your face. I've been going in, I'ma close the case. I can't wait no more, man, I gotta blow today. Popping on the west side, cause that's where I stay. I just made 1,000, blew it in your face. I've been going in, I'ma close the case. I can't wait no more, man, I gotta blow today. I'ma blow today. I ain't hearing what they say. Need a blue face, I've been caring about a race. I've been trying to eat, I need more than just a taste. Now they trying to talk, oh no, they should know their place. Man, I'm ballin', this ain't cap, baby, now I feel like calling. From the O, but I got the music poppin'. All the time, man, it started to get obnoxious. Now I gotta drive, yeah, I'm feeling nauseous. Gotta drive top down, then I hop out, I've been feeling.
Alright, this is the last day that we have on this project. Everything's put together, but it's a whole lot of little stuff like plumbing, wiring, just tidying some stuff up here and there. We got a whole lot of work to do. We've got a pretty good handle on it. We've done it before, so hopefully we'll get everything done. We got an awesome team, and I think it's going to be an awesome machine.
Man, I gotta blow today. Popping on the west side, cause that's where I stay. I just made 1,000, blew it in your face. I've been going in, I'ma close the case.
Well, we stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning. We're absolutely wore out. Started working on it at like 7 o'clock in the morning the day before. I'm tired. I didn't eat lunch and I didn't eat dinner. My head hurts, but it's dyno day.
Dyno day!
Popping on the west side, cause that's where I stay. I just made 1,000, blew it in your face. I've been going in, I'ma close the case. I can't wait no more, man, I gotta blow today. I already blew up, man, I know I would okay. Who the hell is you to tell the dude that I ain't great? Play my work, then work my plan, and now I'm on my straight. I soak up the love and I repel all of the hate.
We brought this one running and driving and not leaking.
Yay!
Yay! We're hoping for a non-eventful dyno day.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Shortest dyno day ever for us.
Big Sage, why they tryna play us? I make 20 racks to rap up on the stage, I invested that right back to my estate, Dinner table, everyone gon' get a play, Started with $9 bills, shoot for guys in the field. I'm in the villa, I'm counting the spiller. My mama say I gotta chill. Turn it down, record deals. Now I got a couple mil, automated all the bills. I'm concerned about the thrills. I'm on a yacht with a big booty, 10 out of 10, little mama. I'm on a tour bus, moving around the country, counting money in the choppers. I don't deal with any drama. You gotta get on my system. That's why it's instant. I'm about to be in this guy, that's my favorite show. West side, cause it's where I stay. I just made
A little better that time.
Alright guys, I'm here with Lane Culver. Lane does tons of tuning for all the guys in the off-road industry. Like 90% of the guys who are in the racing industry in the off-road circuit are going to Lane to get their buggies done. Lane, how many of you tuned? Like you told me like 46 last year or something like that.
I did 46 last year. I usually average anywhere from 35 to 40 a year, but last year was 46.
So this is about as professional as you're going to get when it comes to the off-road racing industry. Now, there's a bunch of stuff that we tried to talk about in the last video when we put the numbers out there that Shane's buggy was 1,600 horsepower. Every internet warrior got on there and started talking about how it was just clickbait and that we were like messing around, and it's not true. we're actually seeing about 50 or 60% less horsepower at the rear tires than we are at the engine. And there's a bunch of different reasons why, you know, gearing and stuff like that, but Lane could probably explain a little bit better than I can. Plus, he's got the credibility.
Okay, the way the dyno works is it actually measures acceleration with drum. Our drum back here is about 36 inches in diameter. It weighs about 3,200 pounds. It behaves very similar to how it would on a hill or on a trail. But things that a lot of guys don't consider if they've got a 500 horsepower engine is the amount of power that it takes to accelerate everything between the engine and the tire, including the tire. So if you've got really big heavy tires, it's going to take power to accelerate those. So if you don't accelerate the drum, you're wasting your energy accelerating the tires, drive shafts, and everything in between. It just doesn't show it on here. We use the dyno as a tool so we get the right tune-up for it, not necessarily a power number.
So that's a really good concept, because in our game, we're really worried about drivability. It's not like drag racing where we're trying to get that high horsepower number. We want the smoothest power over the entire range. We want the buggy to continue to drive when it's getting thrashed around and jumping and all that stuff. But another thing that we have a problem with is the gearing. When we put the big gears and everything in there, we see a lot less horsepower at the rear tire. And a lot of times whenever we're dynoing these buggies, they're straight drive cases. And we're dynoing in four-wheel low, basically. We have to take the front drive shaft out because there is no high range and low range, and there is no front disconnect. So it's in four-wheel drive all the time in low range. And in dyno, when we were doing Gold Rush, it was actually a 16.5 to 1 ratio before we even got to the rear tire. So in your opinion, do you think that we're really only have 500 or 600 horsepower motors? Do you think Gold Rush was actually like 700 or 800 horsepower? Or based on the calculations, the amount of fuel we're putting in and your experience, was that motor and these motors up in the horsepower range we're saying they are?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I see it with drag race cars. I see it with the off-road cars. It really comes down to getting the tune-up right, and it does hide a lot of power. So the math doesn't lie. If you put in X amount of fuel, X amount of air, if everything else works as it's supposed to, you're going to get that power. Whether it shows it at the wheel or not, it doesn't always work.
There you go, guys. You don't have to worry about my opinion anymore. You got it straight from a professional.
These were brand new cut stickies at the beginning of this run. $700 a tire. Speckled all back here on the wall. gonna build her one of these?
When she starts paying the bills.
Oh.
Hey, I work to pay the bills.
Hey, when you start making the millions and you're my sugar mama and I'm just sitting on them coattails, I'm gonna build you a buggy.
Coattails.
Just drive me on through life, Jess. I'm gonna sit in the couch and play with the cat and race buggies all the time. There it is, man. What do you think?
Looks good.
Go over and check it out. It's a bad boy right there.
It really looks good.
That's
turned out great.
Oh yeah, it's sweet, man. It is absolutely sweet. It was just one of those projects from start to finish, man. Everything just went super smooth. Like there was, you know how sometimes things don't go so well. This one went really well. Everything went awesome. And our guys, the team, and everything. You gotta make sure you say thank you to those guys, man, because everybody put their hands on this thing. You know what I mean? But she's bad to the bone. That's what I said. It's almost like one of those things where you could take it to a car show, you know? I hate to see it go, honestly. Like, it's like a showpiece in here, man. People walk in, I'm like, check this thing out, you know? Everybody stares at it and talks about it and takes pictures, and it's just... I really, the whole time I was thinking to myself, man, maybe he'll just call me up and be like, you know what, man, I can't make that last payment. I'll just take the buggy. We'll call it even. I was like, God bless. But she's, I mean, all of it. I love it, man.
That steering wheel not scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it on its tires.
I'm gonna try my best. But it worries me what we're gonna have to hit next time.
Oh. I'll tell you, you look way more professional in there than I do.
Can this be any closer?
Yeah, we got longer shorter. But it's definitely easier to make it longer than shorter. We can do that. We put a spacer right here and we'll space that out. This is the best part about it. You leave these two up, and all you have to do is switch this. All right, when you're about to race, all you have to do is switch this. I put those up there so you didn't accidentally hit it and turn it off or something in the middle of the race. So when it's time to start the buggy, you just flip that and you hit this button right here and it starts it. But you can turn off the fans or on the fans if you had to diagnose something or whatever. So it's computer and fans, and then these are your two lights, and this is your rear steer, and this is a whatever switch you want to put on.
Rear steer?
Yeah, so, well, no, so what that does is it turns it from manual to automatic mode. So you can make it automatic or you can make it manual. So I mean you can turn the rear steer right now. Just hit the.
So what's that thing?
That interrupts it. So if you're in automatic mode and you go like this, turn the fans off. You go like this, it'll automatically self-center. But if you're going like that and you hold that, it doesn't do it until you let it go. So you can hit the rear steer and it'll turn sideways and crab walk until you let go of the button. Then it'll start coming back automatically. But if you want it in manual mode, you go like this, and it stays there until you put it in automatic.
He doesn't want manual mode at all. Just a little bit on the
Time to do some testing on this thing, get the shocks dialed in so we can do some racing. We just better hurry up before all the nut swingers start swarming.
It didn't look bad. I'm just thinking we could do a little better. So
I mean, maybe if anything.
You didn't use all your shock travel in the rear.
No, there's 4.
I was watching it come up the hill and it looked like the initial hit was pretty hard. So I'm trying to give him a little bit more initial hit, make it a little bit easier on the suspension and control a little bit more of that shock travel up here in the top, make it a little bit more progressive.
Somebody say something about that.
Yeah, buddy. Were you worried, Wes? A little bit. Jasmine can drive.
I'm glad.
Because like it goes through and like the ground's shaking and it's throwing dirt up and behind you, and then the exhaust blows it out at your face, and from the sidelines like you just duck and run. That was fun. I still think she has a little bit too much sway bar, to be honest with you. I think it's just a little bit still tight on the sway bar. I mean, I don't want to change something up and then screw you up for next weekend or whatever, but just watching it, when you take a hit on one tire, it lifts the whole rear end instead of allowing the rear end to move. So I'll probably turn it down to 1 inch and let you run it again.
See if I was hitting it square like both tires.
Well, if you're hitting it square, it's just going to do that. That's the problems with straight axle. That's why they independent starts to take over. But yeah, I mean, when you hit it square, she bounces a little bit. It's so controlled.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like even when it bounces up and stuff, it's not landing funny or kicking sideways. It's like a bullet, man. It's badass. Pretty jealous.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Like when you come up through there and like as fast as you come up through there, like I think we got the man to bet on.